All right, guys, there's 6 problems that I'm going to go over. Each one's a little bit different. Each one could or could not be on your quiz tomorrow, so let's just make sure that we understand what we're doing. Again, you're going to need to know the quadratic formula, so make sure that you are aware of what it is. Your quiz will be on lockdown, and it's going to be timed, so make sure you log into Zoom at the appropriate time. In here, we're going to go through the whole thing again of how to make sure that you can see all the problems and all that stuff. If you're in here, I'll have paper and pencil for you to use to work, but you're still going to upload your pictures and stuff so I can easily create it. Yeah. All right, so if we look here at number 1. All right, first thing you always ask yourself is, can I factor anything out? If you can factor something out, do that. But if you can't, then you have to do our P over Q. So the first thing we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do, guys, is list out the factors. So what are the factors of 12? Plus minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Got to have that plus minus in front. Now, once we have that, we're going to just start our synthetic division. I always start with 1. You guys can start with whatever you want, but I'm going to start with 1. So write your coefficients of your polynomial out. It's 1, 2, negative 7, negative 8, 12. So 1, 2, negative 7, negative 8, and 12. So we work this out. We bring down our 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Negative 7 and 3 is negative 4. Negative 4 and 1 is negative 4. Negative 8, negative 4 is negative 12. Negative 12 and 1, negative 12. Negative 12, positive 12 gives me 0, correct? So what did you guys just prove? 1 is a factor. So I'm going to go over here on the side and write 1 is a factor. I'm going to circle it so I don't lose it in my work. Then I look and I write my resulting polynomial. Since we started off with x to the 4th, that means I'm going to have 4 answers. My resulting polynomial is going to start off with 1 degree less. So x cubed, x squared, x, and a constant. So I have x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. Now at this point, we need to try and factor. Sometimes you get here and it doesn't factor and it's not a quadratic, so you have to do synthetic division again. And we're going to do one of those like that. But don't just stop and be like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. So as we go through here, I look and I say, okay, I have 4 terms. The first thing I try and do is factor. If I have 4 terms, I'm going to see if this will group nice and pretty. What can I take out of x cubed and x squared? Okay, take out that x squared and I'm left with x plus 3. Good. What can I take out of negative 4x and negative 12? Negative 4, good, and I'm left with x plus 3. So do you guys see this groups nicely because I now have a common binomial. We take that out in front, x plus 3, and then whatever is left over gets its own parentheses. So I have x squared minus 4. Can I break that down anymore? Yes. X plus 3, and then what do I have? X minus 2, x plus 2. Doesn't matter the order. Just make sure you got 1 plus 1 minus. So you have an x that x equals negative 3, x equals 2, and x equals negative 2. These are all real solutions, real zeros. What do I mean by real? You're not what? Imaginary. If you come out with an imaginary number, then it's not a real solution. We'll talk about that in a second. So on your quiz, what I'm going to be looking for, along with all of this work, is where you have, okay, A, it's going to say list the factors. So factors would be, what did we use?
1.
You guys that tell me, plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. The second B is going to say, what are the zeros? They're the real zeros. So it doesn't matter what order. I'd write x equals 1. And then I just write them all. Negative 3, positive 2, negative 2. So x equals negative 3, x equals 2, x equals negative 2. Somebody asked me last period, can I just write x once and then write all of them out? That's fine. Just separate them by a comma. I like to write them like this, so when I write my linear products, when it says to write as linear products, I can really easily see that when I move my number to the other side, the sign changes. So when I move 1 over, this becomes x minus 1. This becomes x plus 3, x minus 2, and x plus 2. This is what I'm going to be looking for your answer. I would appreciate it if you would somehow answer it like that, so I'm not looking all over the place to find your answers.
Wait, Miss Meadows, so when we get our...
Okay, the next one. First, see if you can factor anything. If you can take out an x or take out a common number, that's great. If you can't, then we look at that last term. That last term is 1. So the only two factors that I'm concerned about are positive, negative 1. So let's try 1 with our synthetic division. I get 1, negative 5, 2, and 1. Synthetically divide, bring down the 1. So go to the corner. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 5 and 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 and 1 is negative 4. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 1 minus 2, or 1 plus negative 2, is negative 1. Does this factor work? Nope. So let's try negative 1. So 1, negative 5, 2, and 1. Bring down the 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Negative 5 and negative 1, negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 1 is 6. 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. And 1 plus negative 8 is negative 7. Does this one work? No. Do I have any other factors that I can try?
Minus 5 minus 1?
Is what? Negative 6?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How come you didn't put the negative on the other side?
What do you mean?
When you put it under the 2?
Guys, are there any real zeros to this problem? No. It would be no, you don't have any real zeros. So if you were going to get a problem like this where it worked out, nothing worked, it just means when this is graphed, it doesn't ever cross the x-axis anywhere. So you would write A is your factors. So what are the two factors that we tried? You tried positive and negative 1. Good. B, the zeros. Zeros, they have to be real. Do I have any? None. You would put none. For our linear products, if I don't have any real zeros, do I have any linear products to write? So you would write none. All right. The likelihood of you having a problem like that on your quiz is very low. Almost non-existent. I just wanted to show you guys that, just in case you ever had a problem. All right, let's look at this next one. This is very important. Pay attention to this one. Write it down if you want to. G of x equals x to the 4th plus 12x cubed plus 31x squared minus 12x minus 32. All right, are there any common terms that I can take out? Is there an x that I can take out of all of them? Is there a factor of a number that I could take out of all of them? They don't all have something in common. If there was an x on that 32, you could take out an x and put it in front, but there's not. So I'm just going to say, okay, 32. What are my factors of 30? Put your plus minus in front. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 16, 32. Again, you guys need to be able to list out your factors. Again, I like to start with 1. You guys can do whatever you want, but I'm going to start with 1. So I have 1, 12, 31, negative 12, negative 32. Very important that you guys just make sure there's no gaps. You don't have to have any placeholders. And also that you have your signs correct. So on this problem, I'm going to go 1 times 1 is 1. 12 plus 1 is 13. 13 times 1 is 13. What's 31 and 13? 44. Good. 44 times 1 is 44. So negative 12 and 44 is? 32. Good. 32 times 1 is 32. So negative 32 and positive 32. What'd you guys just show me? It works. So x equals 1 is a factor, is a 0. So I started off with x to the 4th. That means my resulting polynomial starts off with x cubed. So x cubed, x squared, x, and a constant. I have x cubed plus 13x squared plus 44x plus 32 equals 0. Now, every problem we've done so far, on WebAssign, I think there was a couple that were like this, but every problem that we've done, at this point, you were able to just factor it and finish it. Guys, this is x to the 3rd. It's not a quadratic, so we can't use the quadratic formula. We would have to group. If I grouped the first two terms and the second two terms, would I get identical binomials when I tried to factor out? No. You guys can see that. So what does that mean? Do we just stop and say it doesn't work? No. What did we do the first time? What did we do up here? We did synthetic division. You just do it again. List your factors. Again, it happens to be the same number at the end. So again, you're going to have the same factors that you have to look at. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. So start with 1 again. I have 1, 13, 44, and 32. So bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 13 and 1 is 14. 14 times 1 is 14. 44 and 14 is 58. Guys, if I multiply 58 times 1 and add it to 32, is that going to give me 0? Okay, so you can just stop. Let's try negative 1. 1, 13, 44, 32. Bring down the 1. 1 times negative 1, negative 1. 13 and negative 1 is negative 12. Negative 12 and negative 1 is 12, right? What's 44 plus 12? Wait, time out. Scoot back. You guys didn't catch my mistake. What's 13 and negative 1?
12.
Positive 12. See, make sure you guys take your time. 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. What's 44 plus negative 12? 32. And then 32 times negative 1 is negative 32. So what happens here? It works. So you guys just proved to me that x equals negative 1. Circle it so you don't lose it. We got a lot of stuff going on here. Circle your zeros so you don't lose them. So my resulting polynomial, this one started off with x cubed, so this is going to be x squared, x, and a constant. I'm going to write this over here, guys, so you can see. But it's going to be x squared plus 12x plus 32 equals 0. Now at this point, we're at a quadratic, right? Because it's x squared. So the first thing we try and do is factor it. If it doesn't factor and it's a quadratic, what do we have to use? No. If it's a quadratic equation and it doesn't factor pretty, what do we have to use to find the factors? The quadratic formula. Okay. But here, this one happily works out. What are the factors of 32 that multiply to give me a 32 but add to give me 12? Perfect. 8 and 4. Doesn't matter the order. Plus 8 plus 4. So you have 2 more zeros down here at negative 8 and at negative 4. At the beginning, we circled the highest exponent, which was the 4th power, and we said, oh, we're going to have 4 answers. There's our 4 answers. Now, I would appreciate it if you guys would just do this for me tomorrow and say, A, the factors are. Now, I understand you guys had to do synthetic division twice. The only factors that matter for the possible factors are the first ones that you do. Because when you do synthetic division repeatedly, you're still using, in a sense, the same factors from the beginning. So you would just write those first set that you had. So plus minus 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Then B is your zeros. It would just be super helpful if you could do this for me, guys. It doesn't matter the order. I write them in the order that I find them. Some of you like to write them in the order, numerical order. It doesn't matter. So I have my zeros, and then I'm going to put my linear products. So it's x minus 1. Whoops. X minus.
Wait. I thought you said that. So they changed before.
It's not that they change. You're just solving. You end up finding your linear products as you go through the process of solving. It's just a matter. It's more of a vocabulary thing. And do you guys understand what that means?
Okay, so yeah, because I know that before we even went a step like that.
Tomorrow, if you guys just have your work like this, like if you just leave this and expect me to think that right there is your linear product, I'm not. That's not going to work. You have to tell me what the linear products are. I need you to write it. That's why I wrote on the directions, A, B, C. I need you guys to write it out like that. All right, let's look at the next one.
Miss Meadows, I have a question.
Here, we had to do synthetic division 2 times. We had to do it here, and we had to do it here. Can you guys hold on 1 second? It's my kid's doctor's calling. Hang on 1 sec. Very good question. Since we had to do synthetic division twice, and I'm going to ask you guys to list the factors. In this case, both the factors that we listed were the same. Sometimes that won't work out that way, but the only factors I care about you listing are the first ones, because as you go through and you're dividing out and doing your synthetic division, these are the initial first factors that you're talking about. The next ones is that they're going to be the same, but maybe not all of them at the same time. So the initial group is what I want you guys to write down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
No, don't write both. Just write the initial. That's the only ones that matter. All right, same thing here. Look to see if you can factor anything out. Can't. Look to see if you can group since it's 4 terms. You can't. So we're going to list the factors of 6. Plus minus 1, 2, 3, and 6, right? Synthetic division. Come on, let's go. My coefficients are 1, 2, -5, and -6. So bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. -5 and 3 is -2. -2 and 1 is -2. Does this give me 0? No. Okay, go to the next one. So I have -1. Again, my coefficients are 1, 2, -5, and -6. Bring down the 1. Multiply to the corner. 1 times -1. -1, good. 2 and -1 gives me 1. 1 times -1 is -1. -5 and -1 is -6. -6 times -1 is +6. What happened? We get 0. Good. So I know that one of my x's is x equals -1. I'm going to write it and circle it so don't lose it. What's left over? My resulting polynomial. Since I started off with x cubed, it's going to start off with x squared, x, and then a constant. So I'm going to write this as x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. At this stage, guys, we are at a quadratic. The highest exponent is a 2. Hopefully we don't have to use the quadratic formula. Let's see if this will factor nice and pretty. Are there factors of -6 that'll multiply to give me a -6 but add to give me 1? Perfect. +3, -2. So you have x equals -3 and x equals +2. At the beginning, I look at my problem and I say, okay, I started off with x cubed, so how many zeros should I have? 3. So A, I'm going to list the factors just so Mrs. Meadows can see this easier and she can grade it quicker, because one of my my New Year's resolution was to grade things faster. Because I know that's annoying. I was that kid that always wanted my grade, and then it's hard. So I would write plus minus 1, 2, 3, and 6. My second answer is going to ask for my zeros, so you guys would list them out. Does not have to be in order or anything like that. I'm just going to write x equals -1, x equals -3, and x equals 2. Again, somebody asked me earlier, can I write it x equals and then just write -1, -3, +2? Yes. The reason I write it like this is so I don't make a silly mistake when I'm writing my linear products and mess up a sign. I can look at this and say, okay, it was negative, so when I move it over, it becomes positive. So my linear product will be x plus 1, x plus 3, and x minus 2. So here is my complete answer. Questions? How are we feeling? People at home, how are you? All right, look at the last one. Okay, pay attention, folks. Can I factor out a common term? No. Can I group this nice and pretty? No. So, look at the last term. We love when it's a little number like 2. Plus, minus, 1, and 2. Those are my factors. So now I'm going to synthetically divide. I'm going to say 1, 1, -5, -2. Bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 5 and 2 is negative 3. Negative 3, is this going to give me 0? Okay, let's go to negative 1. Again, 1, 1, negative 5, negative 2. Bring down the 1. 1 times negative 1, negative 1. 1 and negative 1, 0. 0 times negative 1, 0. Negative 5, negative 5. Is this going to give me 0? Nope. Okay, let's try 2. 1, 1, negative 5, negative 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Negative 5 and 6 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. What does this give me? 0. So what'd you guys just show me? X equals 2 is a 0. It works. So what am I left with? Since I started off with x cubed, this is x squared, x, and a constant. So I have x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals 0. It's a quadratic, so I'm like, okay, let's factor this bad boy. Factors of 1 that multiply to give me 1 and add to give me 3. There aren't any. Oh no, what does that mean we have to do? The quadratic formula. Okay, so real quick, guys. A equals 1, B equals 3, C equals 1. We're going to do the quadratic formula. Y'all can do this, no worries. Negative b, so x equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 3 squared, minus 4 times 1 times what? 1 all over 2 times 1. Good question. Duque said, can I use synthetic division? Once you get to a quadratic, guys, and it doesn't factor, then that means your answers are going to either be imaginary or irrational, and you can't get anything irrational with synthetic division. What's up? Oh my gosh. It's not awkward. Don't worry about it. So I have negative 3 plus or minus. What's 3 squared?
9.
3 squared is 9, right? And then what's 9 minus 4? So it's the square root of 5 over 2. Can I simplify that anymore? No. So I have 2 zeros here. I have 2 x's. They happen to be x equals negative 3 plus root 5 over 2. And x equals negative 3 minus root 5 over 2. You could not do synthetic division, Duque, and get that as an answer. Yeah. So you have 3 zeros. You got 3 of them. So when you are asked to list your factors, you'd say A, my factors are, what were my factors? 1 and 2. Plus minus 1, 2. Then it's going to say, okay, B, I'm going to write my zeros. My zeros are at x equals, the first one was 2. See how it's important to circle it so you can find it? Then I have a 0 at x equals negative 3 plus root 5 over 2. Then I have a 0 at x equals negative 3 minus root 5 over 2. Okay? Nothing that we've done here is new. You guys have done quadratic formula and written this. To write this as linear products, okay, pay attention to what I'm doing. This is not hard. I just want you guys to see it. All right? My first linear binomial is just x minus 2, right? Okay, so my second one is going to be x. Look, I'm taking this whole thing and I'm moving it over here. If that said x equals negative 3, what would your linear product look like? If it was x equals negative 3, you would write x plus 3, right? So when I move this thing over, that negative in front of the 3 becomes a what? Positive. All I want you guys to do is write plus 3 plus root 5 over 2. Now I'm doing this for a couple reasons. 1, it's easier. And 2, math way doesn't do it this way. So when you guys are at home and, you know, you're just doing your thing and you turn it in and I'm like, wow, how did you guys know how to do that? I'm not giving you any credit for it. Just saying. Hypothetically, none of you guys do that, I know. So now this next linear product is going to look like what? I'm going to take this and move it over here. What's it going to look like? Read it to me.
Excuse me,
X plus,
3. Would you make that?
you just keep it negative.
Okay, keep it there. Get rid of 5 over 6.
Okay? Because in a sense, you're going to distribute the negative and do whatever.
Well, we have
End up same thing.
on our
Last one. Same thing. Go through the whole process. Do I have any common terms I can factor out? No. Do I have any common x's I can factor out? No. So let's do plus minus 1 and 5. Start with 1. So I have 1, negative 4, 8, and negative 5. Okay, synthetically divide. Bring down the 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 4 and 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. 8 negative 3 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5. What did we just prove?
0.
Okay, so x equals 1. That's one of my solutions. Great. So I'm left with x squared, x and a constant, x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals 0. Can I factor this? No, that means we have to do what? Quadratic formula. So x equals negative b. My b term is negative 3, so it's going to be positive 3 plus or minus the square root. Negative b, or b squared, so negative 3 squared minus 4 times a is 1, c is 5, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. You guys with me?
That formula, what is it called?
The quadratic.
But a quadratic is no.
Okay, it's in this, if it's squared, it's a quadratic. All right, simplify this. I have x equals 3 plus or minus. What is negative 3 squared? 9. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 5 is negative 20 over 2. Simplify again. X equals 3 plus or minus. What's 9 minus 20? Negative 11. Does anybody see an issue here? I have a negative underneath the square root. What does that mean about my x? It's imaginary, guys. This is imaginary. Can we graph an imaginary solution? What is wrong with... I have some dead spots on my iPad. Okay, this is imaginary. So when you get to this point, look at your original problem. Third power is the highest exponent, yes? So that means I should have 3 answers, and I do. I have 1 right here, and I have 2 here. One of them is what kind of a number? No, 2 are imaginary. What's one of them? Real. So all we're asking for is real, and I'm going to put that in the directions. I just want real. So you guys would say A is listing the factors. Your factors would be plus, minus, 1, and 5, right? B are zeros. That means our x-intercepts, our solutions, where the graph crosses the x-axis. I only have one of those. It's where? X equals 1. My linear product, I only have one of those. What is it? X minus 1. Great. So in this case, you guys did come out with your 3 answers. It just so happens that only one of them is real.